how do you achieve massive goals that you are deeply passionate about and desirous of? And how do you stick with achieving those on a daily or weekly basis? Stick with me in this content here, and I'll share with you some examples from my own life and how to do this that are, I think, pretty insightful, if I must say so myself, if I do say so myself, and ways that you probably haven't heard before in this way. So I learned this years ago when I was writing my second book, actually, and I hired a company to help coach me and publish the book that I was publishing. It was a book on parenting that brought together all of the experience that I have working with young people over 20 years and like 50,000 hours of working with young people and families in crisis. And one of the things that they taught me was writing only 250 words a day. Now, if you want to know how many words 250 words are, it's like this much. It's a paragraph, right? And they set this daily goal, which was one of the most insightful things I learned from their coaching, was that if you just write a little bit every day, then that turns into thousands of words over the course of a few months. So I'd sit down to write, or I would be driving and dictating while I was driving. And I was like, 250 words, that's easy. And so I'd consistently put out like 1,000 words a day, which led to so much content that I use even now in these videos or in audio and different content, that I have thousands and thousands of my own words and content and my philosophy of how to help young people, right? Now, sometimes it was a total grind and I barely got like 251 or something. But having such a low standard activated something with me every day where I was like, I can do that. So one little key here is if you have massive goals, break them down into a daily something that you need to do. In my case, it was writing a certain number of words, and make it embarrassingly low, right? Make the bar really low so that those days when you kind of crawl into the goal achieving part of your day, just make it so easily achievable. And then some days when you're feeling the vibes and stoked on whatever it is, whether it's reps at the gym or writing or whatever it is, yoga, it doesn't matter. Just do it, and then you'll find that if you're really passionate about this thing, that you'll easily achieve that minor goal and be able to thrive past it, right? So the second thing to do is schedule it. Schedule time every day. Maybe it's a different time on the weekends, but put it in your schedule. I don't know if you're like me, but I live by my schedule. If it's not my schedule, I usually won't do it. So I scheduled it every morning when I was driving to work, and I would dictate every day for about 15 or 20 minutes, right, at that time. And I tell you, I think it took 3 to 6 months, and I had like 40,000 words, which is actually a very long book that I needed to edit, right? So that's the first thing. Make a daily goal, make it embarrassingly low, schedule it. And the third thing is stay ahead. This might seem kind of obvious, but I want to talk about the psychological impact of staying ahead. If you can stay ahead on your goal and always be pushing on the front end of whatever you're achieving, it has this beautiful psychological impact where you start to just feel good about yourself. You're motivated, it increases your self-confidence, and if you get behind, do a binge and just get ahead. Right. I know a lot of people are like, it's fine. Let yourself just get back into it. I mean, if you want to, fine, but you're going to miss the psychological impact of doing what you said you were going to do, meaning setting an internal goal that you fulfill, that only you on some level knows that you fulfilled or not. So if you get behind, binge on whatever it is that you're doing and get ahead or get back on the horse, so to speak, right? Always stay ahead. And if you get behind, get back ahead. All right. Number 4, evaluate your progress weekly. It's so important to look at exactly the data that you have. For me, it was pretty easy because it was words. I would calculate every week how many words I had written. Is that above my weekly average? Yes, fantastic. If it's not, okay, I've got to binge and I've got to write a bunch. Even if it's just gobbledygook. And this is the cool thing about writing. Maybe this will translate into your goal, whatever you have. But if you just, in writing, you can just write nothing. It doesn't matter. It's just words, right? I mean, obviously you want to eventually get to quality, but it's sort of like with writing, when you kind of blast a bunch of water through a pipe that hasn't been used, a lot of like rusty nastiness comes out. That's what I find is about one part of the writing process. Sometimes just some funk had to get out that was just mindless drivel, but it led to eventually some good content and good ideas formulating after that. So evaluate your progress and make sure that you're hitting the goals that you have, and get set up, binge if you need to. And this is where I just like, you got to discipline if you want to achieve your goals. So push yourself. Yes, here's a little nuance to this. Sometimes I would just take a couple days off or a week off, and it would do something for me. It would give me a certain perspective that I've had, and I would come back really fresh. But the way that I approach goals, and that has me feel, I would say, internally successful, and to an extent externally, in the things that I want, is that I would get ahead so much that I could take those days or a week away that would give me the perspective that I wanted, right? Or sometimes, I think this actually happened once, I had a goal of having a certain numbers of words after 6 months. I pushed my goal back about a month, right? And it was fine. And then I just recalibrated everything, and I didn't like shame myself for it. It was fine. So use that strategy as well. Cool. If you're not doing the goals, here is the 5th key. Look at the impact not achieving the goal is having on your life, and do not gloss it over. If you have a massive goal in your life, for me, it was writing a book. It was something that was really important to me. There was a real impact around not having written a book that was having on my daily life, right? And then, so I would look at that and live that daily. Like, I really want this. Then more importantly, I would look at and feel the impact of what having it will do for me. So in my meditation practice, which I have every day, I would visualize and feel what it was like having this fantastic book that was a bestseller, right? And I would feel that myself. And it didn't motivate me per se. It created a certain energy that had really high quality content come through, because there's this whole art of energetic goal setting that I'll go into another video that you can leverage to create in the moment. It's called the power of a future memory, right? So here's the 6th thing. When you are doing the things that you're doing, and you are doing the things that you said you were going to do, it will have a psychological impact on your self-esteem and your self-concept. And because you are fulfilling a certain goal, an agreement that you've made only to yourself. Sure, maybe you've made it with other people, and there'll be something that gets revealed as you check in with those people, but we're really talking about you with you. And there will be some kind of an impact of you not doing it or giving up on it that will have on your psyche. And you can't avoid that. You can sort of mask it with whatever, doing the things that people do, which is drinking too much or smoking too much or doing whatever, too much to avoid feeling, but it is living there inside of you. So let this be kind of a nice motivational reminder, so to speak, to do what you say you're going to do with yourself most of the time. And here's the last thing. Listen to people who have been where you were and did what you wanted. Listen to those people and do exactly what they say. There's something to it. From my experience, when I've listened to people who have been where I was and got what I wanted, I did everything that they told me to do. And at the end of the day, 80% of it worked for me. On average, right? Not everything applied to me because my life is unique and different and distinct and we're different people, but 80% of what they did to get to where they wanted, and I'm talking like personal development wise, spiritually, financially, professionally, all these people that I've modeled myself after, it worked. 80% of what they did worked for me, and the other 20% was totally unique to myself. Right? So those are the 7 things you can do to achieve your massive goals. Stick with it. I'm with you, and all my best.